Welcome everyone to this edition of Current Connect. Today's topic is 50 years of nationalization of banks. On the backdrop of several economic and political turbulence, 1916 was the year when the then government decided to nationalize the banking sector, bringing into its fold initially 14 privately owned banks. The year 2019 marked the 50 years of nationalization of the banks. Let us see what this connect is all about. Nationalization is defined as government taking control over assets and over a corporation, usually by acquiring the majority or the whole stake in the corporation. In the year 1969, through the Banking Companies Acquisition and Transfer of Undertaking Ordinance, 14 banks were nationalized, and again in 1980, 6 more banks were nationalized. Now we will look into how this topic could be connected to the UPSC syllabus. First, we will talk about the need of bank nationalization, which are social welfare, controlling private monopolies, expansion of banking industry. In this backdrop, banks were nationalized to overcome these challenges. Now let us see what were the implications of the nationalization of the banks. Prevention of monopoly. Bank nationalization helped make the economy more equitable and opened bank credit to even people without connections. Reducing regional imbalance. Bank nationalization helped in more equitable regional growth since the banking system was concentrated in urban centers, and that too largely in the west and the north. Protection of public interest. Unhealthy competition among industrialists injured the interest of the weaker section, which was measured and mitigated by state ownership. Centralized management. Centralized management made possible due to coordination in nationalized banks helped provide uniform services throughout the country. It thus enabled the state to solve the problems of organization, capital, labor operation and marketing. Use of surplus profit. Under state ownership, the profit earned by the banking enterprises could be utilized for greater public good and help in supporting the government's economic policies. Developing banking habits. RBI records show that per capita deposits increased. Core sector lending. Private banks were averse to lend to agriculturists and to the core sector of steel and coal, which required huge investment. Nationalization made funds available to these sectors, with National Bank lending 40% of adjusted net bank credit or credit equivalent amount of off-balance sheet exposure. Did nationalization of banks really solve the problems? Today, state-controlled banks control 70% of the sector's assets, but still, credit is weak. The private sector is stunted and India has to endure periodic banking crises and bailouts at taxpayers' expense. The major chunk of NPAs is in the public sector. One reason for this is priority sector lending, where most of the default takes place. The effect on the industry, meanwhile, was clearly negative. Banks once nationalized became risk-averse and hidebound, rarely lending to new firms. Under-lending became chronic, manufacturers found themselves severely short of credit, bank officials did not have to care about finding and evaluating the profitable firms. Government, through its measures such as capital infusion, insolvency and bankruptcy code, etc., is trying to revive the banking sector. But updated technology, skilled manpower, and most importantly professionalism is also needed as recommended by Kotak Committee. Sooner it happens, better it is for the soon to be 5 trillion economy of India. This topic could be connected to GS3, Sectors of Economy.